I I want to play a game called Keep or Walk, okay? And it's basically I'm going to give you a list of two names, right? And you have to decide whether you keep them or which name you keep and which name you let walk, and then you have to tell me why, okay?
Okay.
And saying no to both is not an option. Saying yes to both is not an option. Chase Young or Cleveland Farrell?
Okay. Uh, Sounds like they want to keep Chase Young, but I wouldn't do it at any real price. Cleveland Farrell, I like, but I think you can do better in the draft. So I'm going to say keep Chase Young and let Cleveland Farrell walk.
Really? After the season, after what happened with Chase Young, and I think I'd go Farrell just because he seems a little bit more like a productive player at this point.
I know, but he's never going to be what you want because he just doesn't have enough speed. I think you can do better with. I mean, I'm aiming higher than Cleve Farrell. Cleve Farrell's like one of those guys. Hey, man, you're glad you have him in season because he's like kind of useful today. But I'm in March, April, and May. I'm dreaming big dreams. I want guys who are explosive coming off the edge. If I can't find explosive guys, I'll settle for Cleve Farrell, but I'm not looking for Cleve Farrell in March. That's for sure.
Okay.
So I think Chase Young. I think Chase Young maybe gets a 1 year make good deal, and let's see if you can get him rolling. For the full year. Why not?
Yeah. No, I mean,
Chase
I don't.
Young's a bigger talent.
Yeah, I mean that's everyone knows that. Well, I mean, they both were drafted very high in the draft.
That's because
Farrell drafted 4th overall.
Mike Mayock's a jackass. That's when Mike.
Yeah, that
Mayock,
was a questionable. That was a questionable pick at the time.
Terrible.
Very questionable.
Terrible.
There was a lot of questionable picks in that draft. I remember Daniel Jones was drafted like 3rd or something like that, and everyone was like, "What? Daniel Jones?" That was a questionable pick, and that obviously didn't really work out.
But Mike Mayock went with Cleve Farrell off of he liked him more than he liked who he was as a person. Okay, but you're in the top 5. You gotta get guys who have special traits, and Cleve doesn't have special traits. Cleve has good work ethic, and I like Cleve a lot. I think he's a good dude, but if I can get Chase Young at a reasonable price, I want Chase Young.
Yeah, I like the idea of Chase Young on a 1-year deal. That is
1 year prove it deal.
Yeah.
Yep,
a prove it deal because it seems like he obviously had those effort issues, and there's been questionable things said about him from coming from Washington. If you can get him on a deal where he has to prove something, especially at a reasonable price, I think it's worth it. On to the second keeper walk. Brandon Allen or Sam Darnold? Who you keeping, who you letting walk?
This one's easy. I'm keeping Brandon Allen and I'm letting Sam Darnold walk.
Okay.
And the only question is, am I keeping Brandon Allen as my 2 and I'm going to get a raw rookie to be the 3, or am I keeping Brandon Allen as my 3 and I'm getting a Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, young veteran to be the 2? I'm kind of intrigued a little bit by Mac Jones at this point, so I might go in that direction. But I'm okay going with Brandon Allen as the 2 and drafting Joe Milton or a rookie of some kind, as well.
Last year, Sam Darnold made about 5.5 million, 5.8 million. So if you can get that kind of money, if you can get him for a decent amount of money, I think you could bring him back. He knows the system. I don't, obviously there's other teams that are looking at him. There's the Vikings, right? That have a lot of interest in Sam Darnold, but I don't see any reason why
I'm hearing the rumor I heard was that the Vikings have a lot of interest in Trey Lance.
That is,
you heard they have interest in Sam Darnold?
Yeah, I could find it if you want me to. But
yeah, I mean, I think Sam Darnold has done enough to improve his value around the league, that somebody will offer him some starting job. Maybe it'll be one of the, or maybe a little bit more money, maybe a real opportunity to compete for a number two, with an iffy starter. I mean, right now he's sitting behind a top 10 starter who's 24 and doesn't miss games. So I don't know if Sam Darnold's going to be happy here in that situation for another year. Now, Zach Wilson or Mac Jones may be, because they've been on some bad teams and they just want to go somewhere where they can kind of salvage their career. And maybe they would look at San Francisco as an option. But I don't know. Darnold seems to me like he wants to be a starter, which is, that's obvious, right? That's good. He should want to be a starter. But I don't think it's going to be here. So my guess is Sam moves, Allen stays. And then the question is, does Allen stay as a 3 and they get a 2? Or does Allen stay as a 2 and get a pay raise and they look for a, day 3 or post-draft rookie to man that third spot? That's the question.
This is what we were just talking about. According to Alec Lewis on Sam Darnold potentially becoming the next quarterback for the Vikings, says, quote, "This is the name that comes up the most in discussions with people within the industry." So apparently there's a lot of chatter with Sam
Good
Darnold
for him. I hope he moves on. I mean, I don't think Sam Darnold is a great quarterback. But he was fine this year and he was a good teammate.
All right. This one is, Warner or Dwelly? Who would you rather have, Charlie Warner or Dwelly?
Charlie Warner. Charlie Warner is a blocker. He's pretty tenacious. He's kind of physical on special teams. Dwelly, I think I can find replacements for Dwelly.
Yeah. Ross Dwelly is what your pass catching tight end who didn't really catch that many passes.
Right.
Yeah, that one's not a super exciting one. Matt Pryor or John Feliciano?
John Feliciano. Matt Pryor stinks. He's slow-footed. His energy level's low. Feliciano can play center. He can play guard. Feliciano actually graded out pretty highly this year, so I'm going to go Feliciano.
No, Feliciano was a surprise. I mean, you liked him a lot coming from the Giants. He's a mauler. He's a big dude, and he did really well at the right guard position, especially when Spencer Burford went down. Because that's why he came in early in the year because Burford went down. Is that right?
Well, yeah. I mean, Burford shared last year right guard with Brunskill. This year, it looked like they were going to give it to Burford full time, but then after a few weeks, they're like, well, he's going to share with Feliciano. And then there were times where I thought Feliciano outplayed him. I think overall, Feliciano is just a more assignment sound than Burford. And I like Feliciano at center if they move on from Brendel. He also gives you a backup at center.
Yeah. Now this one, Demetrius Flanagan Fowles or Oren Burks? Which LB3?
Neither. I want neither. They're both solid. I want neither, though. It's like no more. Go get young linebackers who can start. You've got Curtis Robinson right there. He can do what those guys can do. Oren Burks, you saw in the Super Bowl that he was a dramatic step down from the starting caliber linebackers. I'd rather see those guys gone so that forces them to play Jalen Graham and D. Winters, because I think Jalen Graham and D. Winters are better than those guys. So I like some of the linebackers in the draft a lot. And I'd rather go with linebackers who can be linebackers from scrimmage than special teams linebackers that I ask to play from scrimmage. Burks, I don't think is great from scrimmage. Flanagan Fowles is, I don't think is great from scrimmage. I'd rather see them force feed the young guys and then lean on into the draft at linebacker and get some more linebacker speed.
Would you? Okay, but if you had to choose one, I would choose.
I'm not. I would choose Flanagan Fowles because I think he's cheaper.
Okay.
I mean, look at it. Ornberg's, they targeted him 9 times in the Super Bowl. They completed 9 passes.
He's not your starting linebacker. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's a special teamer, but I mean, Curtis Robinson can fill that role for cheaper.
Okay. Now these are 2 guys that might just retire, but Deshaun Gibson or Logan Ryan.
Yeah. Goodbye. What was it? Walk. Is that what it is? What game are we playing? Keeper walk. I mean, Logan Ryan, no. And Tayshaun Gibson, no. Double no. And nothing against those guys. You can do better. You can do better than that.
Yeah.
You've got Hufanga, and you've got who's coming off an injury. So when's he going to be ready? That's one. And then you have
Jair
Brown, who's a starter. And then you have Odom, who's a great special teamer. And then the rest of the safety group should be young guys, not veterans.
And they have Taylor Hawkins.
I like Taylor Hawkins. He's fine to compete. And then just go draft another safety or 2.
Yeah. No, I know. I've seen some people complaining in comments being like, oh, they don't need to draft a safety. It's like, they kind of do. They definitely need some depth at safety if they're not bringing back because they had an old secondary or an old safety group between Logan Ryan and Deshaun Gibson, and they're going to walk. So
well, and Hufanga's not going to be ready week 1, I don't think. Right? He tore his ACL.
Yeah,
isn't he going to? And he tore his ACL in the middle of the year, so you want to have another young safety there for sure. And you've got Hawkins and you've got George Odom, who's a really good special teamer. So I just think you need one more safety, and it's probably more of a strong safety. But it would be nice if you could get an all-around type player. But yeah, they need 1 or 2 more safeties. But they're young guys. They should be young. Draft picks.
All right, last one in our keep or walk game. Randy Gregory or Javon Kinlaw? You keeping, who you letting walk?
I'm keeping Kinlaw, and I'm letting Randy Gregory walk. I just seem like Gregory at 245 just seemed like he got just swallowed up by offensive tackles in this front. And I thought Gregory, if you'd asked me this question in November, I would have thought it would have been Gregory. But Kinlaw, is a big body. It's hard to find interior guys. I could see them moving on from both, but if it's one or the other, I'll take Kinlaw back.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of options right now at D tackle, right? They have Armstead, and then they have, who am I blanking on? I mean, they have Hargrave.
Well, they have Hargrave and Armstead, but Armstead's, is Armstead
they don't have a lot of run
back?
stuffers.
Yeah.
Yeah, Armstead has injuries.
They don't have anybody who can really play the run inside.
Right. Armstead, I saw that there's going to be a decision made on his injury, whether they do like a complete restructure or a partial restructure or something like that related to his injury. And it would either take him a few months to recover or he could be out for the first couple games. That's what his doctor said.
D. Lou here says, go get Christian Wilkins. I mean, to me, if there's one surprise so far, you say, well, give me a surprise thus far. It's that the Dolphins did not franchise tag Christian Wilkins. And Christian Wilkins is a really good football player. And I could see the 49ers signing him. He's scheme versatile. He can play inside at tackle. He can play outside at end. He can play in a 3-4. He can play in a 4-3. I like Christian Wilkins. I'd go after Chris Jones, but doesn't sound like Chris Jones is going to leave KC. But if you can get Christian Wilkins to leave Miami, heck yeah, I'd go sign him.